Welcome to the show, guys. Got an exciting little mini episode here for you. I'm going to give you guys 3 early fantasy football busts, players to avoid. Yes, early busts, and we're not even, scratching the surface on the 2023 season. 3 big names, okay? You're not going to like this list. It's not going to be pleasant. You're not going to say, oh, Joe, I love your list. I'm totally going to avoid these amazing studs because you told me. But I'm going to give you guys reasoning on why I'm going to avoid them, okay? This is very, very important that you listen. These are huge names. They're going to be drafted very high in drafts. And I'm telling you the complete opposite. I'm saying completely avoid them, okay? And this is why rankings don't work. Because if you look at last year, everyone had Cooper Kupp on top. And I said, something's going to happen. A decline, injury, something's going to happen. It happens every year historically to people that have pinnacle years, right? Cooper Kupp busted. Same with Jonathan Taylor. I'm like, draft somebody else. Don't go Taylor because you had an anomaly type year. It was amazing. Everything was going good. Don't draft him first overall. Go someone else. Go Henry, go Barkley. Do something else. Sure enough, I was right there. So you got to look at trends. You got to look at history. And you got to use common sense. So 3 big name players to avoid, okay, potential busts. They're going to bust on their ADP. Not to say they're not going to have good seasons, but they're definitely going to bust. So I'm going to go through that. Now, if you want to pre-order the 16-round drafts, you could do that now for the lowest price of the season. The code you want to use is Early Lion. I've linked it here below. Or head on over to thefantasyfootballaccounts.com right now. Get in for the lowest price of the season. I'm going to be getting rid of that code very soon. Early Lion is the code for 16 rounds. Get in. The ultimate solution to help you guys crush your leagues. I don't call it a draft kit. It's a solution. So, guys, 16-round draft solution. Just Google it. Watch the video. It explains what it is. Get it. You're going to dominate your drafts. Okay, guys? Let's start off with the first guy here that I'm avoiding. I've been avoiding him for years, so I can't go wrong here. Austin Ekeler. Now, a couple years ago, if you guys don't know the history of me and Austin Ekeler, long story short, he blocks me, then unblocks me, and blocks me, and then unblocks me again. The guy's a total weirdo. Now, I do appreciate what he's doing for the fantasy football community. I really do. But you got to understand, this guy was a backup to Melvin Gordon for the first couple, seasons of his career. Then he had one kind of mediocre year. Then he had a couple good years, okay? But understand, Kellen Moore, former Cowboys offensive coordinator, is now going to be the Chargers offensive coordinator. Joe Lombardi is no longer there. A big part of Austin Ekeler's success last year was the checkdowns, getting those receptions. We had injuries to Mike Williams. We had injuries to Keenan Allen. That offense and Justin Herbert really relied heavily on Austin Ekeler, okay? Not to mention, we don't know, are the Chargers going to draft a true, real workhorse running back this year? That's something to monitor and to really observe. As of right now, Ekeler should still be the guy. And as of right now, he's sitting number 1 to number 2 on the consensus rankings amongst running backs. On the consensus rankings, they got McCaffrey at 1. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you to avoid him. A couple reasons. It's been too good for him. Okay, this guy, again, was a backup. I still don't think he's a true workhorse running back. He's been almost near perfect for the past couple years. Again, props on him. Good on him, right? But understand they could draft another running back. Understand that there's a new offensive coordinator, and understand what goes up must come down. He will not duplicate last year's numbers. I just don't see it. Top fantasy running back this year, in 2023 again, very unlikely. So I'm going to go ahead and avoid him just simply based on law of averages, okay? What goes up must come down. New offensive coordinator. I'm not really sold on him doing it. Again, the same way he did it last year. Too good of a year for a guy who's not that good of a player. Yeah, you're not gonna like me for saying that, but that's the bottom line. He's not a true workhorse. A true workhorse is a Derrick Henry. That is a true workhorse. Mind you, am I going crazy over Henry this year? Not as much as I was last year. Okay, because he came off an injury, then finally had a good year last year. Now this year, it's going to be interesting, right? I still have to gauge that. He's still going to be a top 10 back. Am I going to get him first overall? Probably not. We're going to have to see what they do with that offense, right? Tannehill with the situation, other wide receivers, O-line, like what are they doing? I want to know. And this is why I actually don't release my 16-round draft until after the NFL draft, because then I know how the depth charts fall, okay? So first player, again, avoiding potential bust. Not going to happen again. Austin Ekeler. Be careful, especially with that new offensive coordinator, right? Number 2 here, you're not going to like this either, Christian McCaffrey. Now, last year, I'm going to give you guys some notes here on him. 244 attempts with the Niners, 1,139 yards on the ground on the season, 8 touchdowns, 4.7 something yards per carry. The guy did good. He had a good year, okay? Now understand, this is very important. He had a good year last year, but the 2 years prior, he only played 10 games in 2 seasons. That's 2020 and 2021. Again, had a good 2022 season. All right. The good news, again, for people that like McCaffrey, in the last 5 games of the season, he had 2 receiving touchdowns, not bad, and 4 touchdowns on the ground. A rushing touchdown almost every game, 4 out of 5 games of the regular season. So again, he looked good. He looked good receiving the ball, getting those receiving touchdowns. He looked good running the ball. He looked good all over. But again, great year. Is that going to continue? Is Elijah Mitchell, what's going on with him? He was banged up last year. Is he going to come back? Are they going to draft another running back? What is going on? Or is he going to be the focal point? Maybe he is. I think he should be with the 49ers. What's the situation at quarterback? Who's coming in? Is it Trey Lance? What's going on? Who's starting? Is it Purdy? What exactly is going to happen with this offense moving forward in 2023? I need to know for sure, concrete, that who's starting, how many checkdowns they're going to do, how often does this quarterback throw to the running back, how's that relationship, who else are they acquiring, how's the wide receiver core look, is Deebo Samuel going to be a factor, is he going to be implemented in the running game like he was a couple years ago? What is going on? That's what I need to know. But as of right now, simply just because he had a pinnacle year last year, I'm not going to do it. Again, I'm not going to go for him. He's going to be very expensive. And remember, he played 10 games in the past 2 seasons prior to last year. 2020, 2021, 10 games, 2 seasons. That shows me he's very injury prone, not reliable. Now he finally had a good year. What happens next year? Which one is it? Is he going to go back to the, cripple McCaffrey, or is he going to go to the real deal McCaffrey? But again, I really feel at this point in McCaffrey's career, you go back 4 years, he had his pinnacle seasons. Okay. Then he blew his load this season. How much more left in the tank? Is he going to continue to keep going at this pace? I highly doubt it. Okay. For that reason and that reason alone, because what goes up must come down, reason factor, and so many other variables that we still have to factor in, having him first overall or right behind Eckler just doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to go ahead and fade him. Okay. And number 3 here, you're not going to like this. And I could, I could be completely wrong on this. Okay. But the third guy here is Justin Jefferson. I'm going to fade him for many reasons. First and foremost, I don't go wide receiver in the early rounds. I just don't do it. There's so much value at wide receivers. Garrett Wilsons, Jameson Williams of the world, Drake Londons can step up. Amon-Ra St. Brown's of the world, right? There's so many guys. Jerry Jeudy, where does he end up? I heard that a lot of teams aren't biting on him. They wanted to trade him, but a lot of people won't pay the Jerry Jeudy price that Denver's asking. So guys, there's so many wide receivers. They obviously not on the level of Justin Jefferson, but a lot of good talent out there that are going to give you solid wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 2 numbers, or low-end wide receiver 1 numbers after you secure the most scarce position, which is running back early. So when I look at a guy like Jefferson, I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. 184 targets, 128 receptions, 1,809 receiving yards. Amazing. 8 touchdowns. Pretty good, solid anomaly type year. Now, it's very unlikely he'll reproduce these numbers again, but the good news is he is young and he very well could. So a lot is going for him. Now, understand, the only guy that's really been able to duplicate multiple great seasons was Antonio Brown. A big part of that was Big Ben constantly fed him, got a lot of volume, created a lot of good separation. Great receiver at the time, Antonio Brown. Now, bit of a crazy. So when you look at Jefferson, yes, Jefferson is still young. Yes, Jefferson can do this again. But similar to what we saw Michael Thomas in 2020 or whatever that year was, when everyone was like, draft him first overall, he busted. Sure enough, Cooper Kupp last year, top guy, drafted first overall, busted. Now they're saying Jefferson coming off a top year. They're saying draft him again. I'm going to go with history showing me that almost every single year, the top wide receiver that's slated to be a top loses that top position. Now, he still could finish as top 5 very well. If he's healthy, absolutely. For me personally, I'm going to be avoiding him, and he will not do as well as he did last year. Again, injuries are included. I do include that in all my analysis, right? I factor that in, right? Law of averages, okay? Right? If you continue to drink water, for example, right? And let's say the water is not good for you. Eventually, it'll catch up with you. Maybe something happens to you. I'm giving you a terrible example here, but you guys get the point, right? Eventually, things catch up. You can only be good for so long. you're in a situation that is toxic to a sense, right? You're on a field where you get hit, injuries happen, things happen. You're only so perfect for so long. Jefferson has been pretty much picture perfect for the past couple of years. He's been solid. Okay. If you want a reliable wide receiver, go for it. I personally am not going to do it, and he will decline predicated on his ADP and bust based on his ADP. He's a player I'm going to avoid. So 3 big names, guys: Eckler, McCaffrey, Jefferson. I'm going to avoid them. Maybe you should as well. Very, very early draft capital. There's a ton of value, guys, at wide receiver later if you're thinking Jefferson. And there's a ton more upside running backs. Your Breece Halls, your Dameon Pierces you can get later, your Tyler Algiers. There is a ton of running backs you can get that will be solid. You don't have to spend a first overall pick on, all right? That are going to outperform these guys, all right? So, guys, make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up. And again, guys, very important to get the 16-round draft so you can pre-order now to think outside the box and dominate your league. You'll be light years ahead of the competition. 16 rounds at thefantasyfootballcounts.com. Drop a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think of my analysis here, and we'll talk soon. I'm out.